The morning sun filtered through tall windows of the examination room, casting golden squares across sterile white walls. Naomi Bennett smoothed her emerald blouse with trembling fingers, the fabric suddenly feeling too tight against her racing heart. The paper beneath her crinkled with every nervous shift, a sound that seemed too loud in the quiet space. Outside, she could hear the distant hum of traffic, the ordinary rhythm of a city moving through another Tuesday morning. But nothing about today felt ordinary. Dr. Benjamin Foster's office smelled different from Derek's practice. Cleaner somehow. Less familiar. She told herself this was routine. Just a second opinion about why she and Derek hadn't conceived after 2 years of trying. Her husband had assured her everything was fine, that it just took time, that stress was probably the culprit. But something deep in her gut whispered that she needed to hear it from someone else. Derek was a successful gynecologist himself, wealthy beyond measure from his thriving practice. He'd built an empire on trust, on his reputation for excellence. She'd never had reason to doubt him, until now. Naomi stared at the ceiling tiles, counting them to steady her breathing. 42 in this room. Derek's office had 36. She'd counted them so many times over the past 2 years, during so many appointments where he'd assured her everything was progressing normally. Her phone buzzed in her purse. A text from Derek. Thinking of you. Beautiful. Dinner at Giovanni's tonight? Love you always. She didn't respond. Couldn't. Because beneath the anxiety about disappointment lived something darker, something she'd been pushing down for months. A whisper of intuition that said her perfect life wasn't what it seemed. Dr. Benjamin Foster entered with a professional smile, his white coat pristine, his expression carefully neutral. He was older than Derek, maybe mid-40s, with silver threading through dark hair and kind eyes that crinkled at the corners. Mrs. Bennett, good afternoon. I've reviewed the questionnaire you filled out. You mentioned you've been trying to conceive for 2 years. Yes, Naomi said, her voice steadier than she felt. My husband is actually a gynecologist too, Dr. Derek Bennett. Maybe you know him? Dr. Foster's fingers paused on his tablet. Just for a moment, but Naomi noticed. I know of him. His practice is across town, correct? Yes, he's been treating me himself. He says everything looks normal, but... She trailed off, not wanting to seem like she was doubting her own husband. But you wanted another perspective. That's completely reasonable. Dr. Foster set down the tablet and washed his hands at the small sink. Let's take a look and see what we're working with. I'll be as quick and comfortable as possible. The examination began routinely enough. Naomi focused on the soft classical music playing from hidden speakers, tried to breathe slowly, evenly. Outside the window, she could see autumn leaves dancing in the breeze, brilliant oranges and reds against a bright blue sky. Life continuing normally while she lay here, vulnerable and afraid of answers she couldn't name. Mrs. Bennett. Dr. Foster's voice had changed. Gone was the casual professionalism, replaced by something careful, measured. I need to ask you something. You said your husband has been your primary physician for your reproductive care. Yes, for the past 5 years. Actually, since before we got married. She tried to sit up, but he gestured for her to wait. And he's performed all your examinations? Prescribed any medications or treatments? Of course. What is it? Is something wrong? The anxiety in her chest bloomed into full panic. Dr. Foster rolled his chair back and removed his gloves, his expression troubled. The kind of look that made Naomi's blood run cold. She could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears, could feel sweat breaking out along her hairline despite the cool temperature of the room. I'm seeing some things that concern me, he said quietly. Physical indicators that don't match what I would expect from someone who's been trying to conceive naturally. What kind of indicators? Naomi's voice came out smaller than she intended. Her hands gripped the edges of the examination table, knuckles going pale against her brown skin. Dr. Foster met her eyes directly. There are signs of recent hormonal intervention. Specifically, the kind that would be used to suppress ovulation, not encourage it. He leaned forward slightly. Mrs. Bennett, I need to run some comprehensive blood work immediately. What I'm seeing shouldn't be there if your goal has been to get pregnant. The room tilted. Naomi felt like she was falling, even though she sat perfectly still. I don't understand. Derek has been giving me prenatal vitamins. He said they would help prepare my body. I'm not making any accusations, Dr. Foster said quickly, though his face said otherwise. But the physical evidence suggests long-term exposure to contraceptive hormones. The concentration I'm detecting isn't something that happens naturally or accidentally. Naomi's mind raced backward through mornings at their marble kitchen island. Derek handing her small pink pills from an unmarked bottle. Specially formulated, he'd said, with that warm smile she'd fallen in love with. Better than over-the-counter options. She'd taken them faithfully, trusting him completely. He was her husband. He was a doctor. He was one of the most respected gynecologists in the city, worth millions from his successful practice. He loved her, didn't he? I need you to get dressed, Dr. Foster continued, his voice gentle but urgent. I'm going to order a full hormone panel, liver function tests, and a few other screenings. I want to see exactly what's in your system. Can you do that for me right now? She nodded mutely, her throat too tight for words. And Mrs. Bennett? He paused at the door. I need you to not mention this visit to your husband just yet. Not until we have the results. Can you do that too? The request sent ice through her veins. You think he's been hurting me? On purpose? Dr. Foster's expression was grave. I think we need information before we draw conclusions. But yes, I have serious concerns about the care you've been receiving. The patterns I'm seeing aren't consistent with treatment aimed at achieving pregnancy. They're consistent with preventing it. Naomi dressed in a daze, her fingers fumbling with buttons that suddenly seemed too complicated. The emerald blouse felt wrong now, like a costume from a play she hadn't known she was performing. In the mirror, she looked the same. Beautiful, Derek always said. Her natural hair framed her face in soft coils. Her skin glowed with the health she'd always taken pride in. But her eyes looked different, haunted. The blood draw took 15 minutes. Naomi watched the vials fill with dark red, each one a potential answer to questions she'd been afraid to ask. The phlebotomist, a cheerful woman in purple scrubs, chatted about the weather, about weekend plans, about nothing that mattered. Naomi nodded and smiled automatically, her mind elsewhere. We'll have preliminary results by tomorrow afternoon, Dr. Foster told her in his office afterward. Full panel by the end of the week. I'm going to be honest with you, Mrs. Bennett. If my suspicions are correct, this is a serious situation. Medical malpractice at minimum. Potentially criminal. He's my husband, Naomi whispered. He wouldn't. We're trying for a baby. It's all he talks about. How much he wants to be a father. How we'll name our first son after his grandfather. I hope I'm wrong, Dr. Foster said, but his eyes said he didn't believe that. In the meantime, I want you to stop taking any medications your husband gives you. Tell him you're giving your body a break. That you read something online about letting your system reset. Can you do that? She nodded again, the world feeling unreal, like she was watching herself from outside her body. And Mrs. Bennett, do you have somewhere safe you can stay if you need to? Family? Friends? My mother lives about 20 minutes away. The words came automatically. Why would I need to stay with her? Just a precaution. If what I'm seeing is deliberate, confronting your husband could be ... difficult. I want you to have options. Naomi left the office in a fog. Her car sat in the parking lot where she'd left it, a sleek Mercedes sedan Derek had bought her for her 30th birthday. "Only the best for my queen," he'd said, kissing her forehead. She sat in the driver's seat for a long time, staring at nothing, her hands shaking on the steering wheel. The call came at 2 o'clock the next afternoon while Naomi sat in her corner office at the marketing firm where she worked. She barely slept, lying next to Derek in their king-sized bed, watching him breathe peacefully while her mind screamed. He'd kissed her goodbye that morning like always, reminded her to take her vitamin, smiled at her with such warmth that she'd almost convinced herself Dr. Foster was wrong. Almost. "Mrs. Bennett, this is Dr. Foster. Do you have a moment to talk privately?" Naomi closed her office door and locked it. Through the window, she could see the city stretching endlessly, thousands of lives being lived, problems being solved, ordinary afternoons unfolding. "Yes, tell me. I'm sorry." 2 words, and her world tilted. "The preliminary results confirm my concerns. Your blood shows elevated levels of levonorgestrel and ethinyl estradiol combined. Those are the active ingredients in oral contraceptives. Long-term use, based on the concentrations. Months, possibly years." The phone nearly slipped from her shaking hand. "But I've never taken birth control. Not since before Derek and I got married. We stopped specifically so we could try for a baby. I know. Mrs. Bennett, I need you to bring me those vitamins your husband has been giving you. I want them tested immediately. He gives them to me every morning with breakfast. I've never even looked at the bottle closely. It's in the medicine cabinet. I trusted him. I understand this is devastating, but we need concrete proof before we can take further action. Can you get the bottle without him knowing?" Naomi's mind raced. Derek was at his practice until 6, meeting with patients, building his empire, being the man everyone respected and trusted. "Yes, I'll do it now." "Good. Bring them to my office as soon as possible." Dr. Foster paused. "And Mrs. Bennett, I think you should consider contacting an attorney. What's been done to you is not just a betrayal of trust. It's a crime." "An attorney." The word echoed in her head long after she ended the call. She was going to need a lawyer for her husband. Her husband, who she'd loved for 7 years, married for 5. The man who owned a practice worth millions, who donated to children's hospitals, who smiled at her every morning like she was the only thing in his world that mattered. The man who'd been poisoning her. The drive home took forever and no time at all. Naomi parked in the circular driveway of their estate, a stunning modern masterpiece Derek had designed himself. "A home worthy of our family," he'd said when they'd moved in 3 years ago. She'd imagined children playing in the manicured gardens, birthday parties on the sprawling lawn, a future that now felt like a cruel joke. Inside, everything looked normal. The breakfast dishes Derek had washed were drying in the rack, his coffee mug sitting where he always left it. A note on the granite counter in his precise handwriting. "Can't wait to see you tonight. You're my everything." Naomi wanted to scream. Instead, she walked calmly to the master bathroom and opened the medicine cabinet. The vitamin bottle was right where it always was, pink pills visible through translucent orange plastic. No label, no manufacturer information, just Derek's handwriting on a piece of medical tape. Naomi's Prenatals. She photographed it from every angle with her phone, then opened it and shook half the pills into a plastic bag, careful to leave enough that Derek wouldn't notice any missing. Her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped them. What else had he lied about? Naomi started searching. She went through their bedroom with methodical precision, opening drawers she'd never looked in because they were his space, his privacy. In his knitstand, she found nothing unusual. His closet held only designer clothes and expensive shoes. But in his home office, in a locked drawer of his mahogany desk, she found the crowbar. It took 3 tries to get the drawer open, her hand slipping on the metal tool. Inside were bank statements for an account she didn't know existed. Over $60,000 deposited in small increments over the past 3 years. A second phone, password protected. And a folder labeled medical records, confidential. Her hand shook as she opened it. Inside were copies of her charts from Derek's practice, but with notations she'd never seen, prescriptions she'd never known about. Patient continues on oral contraceptive regimen under guise of prenatal supplementation, showing signs of frustration regarding conception delays. Reassured that stress is normal factor. Will continue treatment indefinitely. The dates went back 2 years. 2 full years of documented deception. Naomi photographed every page, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. Not yet. She needed to see everything first. At the bottom of the folder was a printed email. The address was one she didn't recognize, but the content made her blood run cold. Derek, we need to talk about when you're going to tell her. I'm 8 weeks along now, and it's getting harder to hide. You promised me we'd be together when she finally gave up on getting pregnant. How much longer are you going to string her along? Simone Naomi sat on the floor of Derek's office, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal, and tried to remember how to breathe. There was another woman. He'd gotten her pregnant while systematically ensuring his own wife couldn't conceive. While building a medical empire on trust and reputation, he'd been destroying the one person who trusted him most. Her phone rang. Tasha Monroe, her best friend since college. Naomi answered without thinking. Hey girl, haven't heard from you in a few days. Everything okay? No. The word came out broken. Tasha, I need help. I need a lawyer. Can you come over? I'm already in my car. Tasha didn't ask questions, didn't hesitate. Hold tight, sweetheart. I'm 10 minutes away. Naomi gathered all the evidence while she waited. Photos of the pills, the bank statements, the medical records, the emails. She moved on autopilot, her legal training from her years in corporate marketing kicking in even as her heart shattered. By the time Tasha arrived, she had everything organized in a folder on her laptop and backed up to the cloud. Tasha took one look at Naomi's face and pulled her into a fierce hug. Tell me everything. So she did. The words poured out in a torrent. 5 years of perfect marriage revealed as an elaborate lie. Tasha listened without interrupting, her expression growing harder with each revelation. When Naomi finished, her friend's voice was steel. Okay, first, you're coming to stay with me tonight. We're packing your essentials right now. Second, first thing tomorrow morning, we're meeting with Preston Clark. He's the best divorce attorney in the state. Third, we're filing a police report. What Derek did isn't just unethical, it's assault. I can't believe this is happening, Naomi whispered. Yesterday morning, I woke up thinking I had a good marriage. You had a husband systematically drugging you against your will, Tasha corrected sharply. That's not a marriage problem. That's a crime. 6 months later, Naomi stood in the crowded courtroom, watching Derek take the stand for his criminal trial. The medical board had already revoked his license permanently. His practice had collapsed, his reputation destroyed, his millions evaporating in legal fees and settlements. But this was different. This was about justice. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Victoria Hayes, walked Derek through his actions with surgical precision. Dr. Bennett, you documented in your patient files, and I quote, patient continues on oral contraceptive regimen under guise of prenatal supplementation. Does that sound like medical care to you? Derek's face had gone gray. I worded that poorly. You also texted Miss Simone Grant, quote, she's starting to give up on getting pregnant. Another few months, and she accept it's not happening. Then I can leave without feeling guilty. Were those words also chosen poorly? That was taken out of context. What context makes drugging your wife acceptable, Dr. Bennett? Silence filled the courtroom. Naomi watched Derek's hands tremble. Watch the man who controlled every aspect of her life for 5 years finally face consequences he couldn't manipulate away. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they returned, the forewoman stood with a solemn expression. "We find the defendant guilty on all counts: assault, fraud, and medical malpractice." Derek's face crumpled. Naomi felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just emptiness where love used to be. Outside the courthouse, reporters crowded around, but Naomi had learned to handle them over the past months. "I want people to know that trust isn't weakness," she said clearly. "I trusted my husband because that's what marriage should be. He exploited that trust. But I'm standing here today because I found the courage to ask questions, to seek the truth, and to fight for justice. If anyone else is experiencing something similar, please speak up. You deserve better." That evening, Naomi sat in her new downtown condo, a sleek space Derek had never touched. Tasha brought wine and takeout, and they toasted to new beginnings. "How are you really doing?" Tasha asked softly. Naomi looked out at the city lights, thinking about Dr. Foster's kindness, about the courage it took to question everything she believed, about the strength she'd found in herself. "I'm healing. It's going to take time, but I'm healing." 1 year after discovering the truth, Naomi stood in a bright examination room. But this time, everything was different. Dr. Foster smiled warmly as he reviewed her charts. "Everything looks perfect, Mrs. ... I'm sorry, Miss Bennett. Are you keeping your married name?" "Actually, I went back to my maiden name. Naomi Parker." She smiled. "And everything really is okay? Your hormone levels are completely normal now. Your body has healed beautifully. If you want to try for a family in the future, there's no medical reason you couldn't." Naomi felt tears prick her eyes, but they were good tears this time. Tears of relief, of possibility, of a future that was truly hers to choose. "Thank you, Dr. Foster, for everything. For being brave enough to tell me the truth when it would have been easier to look away. That's what doctors are supposed to do," he said gently. "Take care of people, not harm them." Outside, spring sunshine warmed her face. Naomi walked to her car with her head high, feeling lighter than she had in years. She'd lost time, lost trust, lost a marriage built on lies. But she'd gained something more valuable, herself. Her phone buzzed with a text from Tasha. "Lunch this weekend? I have someone I want you to meet. A friend from work. No pressure, just coffee." Naomi smiled. Maybe she wasn't ready for romance yet. Maybe she was. Either way, the choice was hers now. Every choice was hers. As she drove through the city, past the hospital where Derek once worked, past the courthouse where justice had been served, past the old house that was now someone else's home, Naomi felt peace settle over her. The journey had been painful, the betrayal devastating, but she'd survived. More than survived, she'd fought back, stood up for herself, and rebuilt her life on her own terms. The moral was simple but profound. Trust is sacred, but self-trust is essential. When something feels wrong, even when it comes from someone you love, listen to that inner voice. Seek the truth, no matter how painful. And remember that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to act despite it. Naomi had found that courage. And it had saved her life. As evening fell over the city, she thought about Dr. Foster's kindness, about second chances, about the strength hiding inside fear. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new moments to choose herself. But tonight she was enough. She'd always been enough. And that truth, finally, was something no one could take away.